Let's go. What's up, Melanated family? How's everybody doing, man? It's your brother Harrison, back for another episode of the Melanated Convo podcast. I'm happy to be with you today, family. So, something specific I want to talk about today. Oh, so before I get into that, right? So, thank everybody for joining me today. But tomorrow, Tuesday the 4th, my brother Chris Lodgson is going to be on the show. Chris is a member of the CJEC, the Coalition of a Just and Equitable California. He is on the front lines with the reparations movement here in California. So I'm happy to have the brother on the show tomorrow. The reparations task force here in California that was created, he isn't a part of the task force, but his organization was selected to kind of help navigate how they're going to see things. So I'm excited because this is the third conversation I've had with the brother. In California, unlike any other state in history, in my opinion, we're really close to getting reparations, or just them taking the idea of giving Black folks reparations more serious. So tomorrow, the 4th, 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, my brother Chris Lodgson will be on the show. We're going to be chopping it up about reparations. This is his third time on the show since all of this has been going on, right? And my plan is to continue to bring him on because this is a big conversation. Like, if California does actually get reparations, this type of thinking will reverberate in other cities and other states. So all of us should be um, interested in how all of this plays out, right? Like, if you're a Black person who care about our struggle, who is interested in everything we go through, this is a big step, because other races of people have gotten reparations or forms of reparations. So this is something that we're due. I'm excited. You feel me? So let's get into it real quick, family. Again, my brother Chris is going to be on the show tomorrow, Thursday. I'm going to have another show, another special guest. We're trying to keep this thing popping. Subscribe to the Melanated Convo YouTube page on YouTube. I used to have two Instagram pages, like one personal, one for everything I do online. But recently, because I got hacked, actually, I've combined everything. So the one Instagram page is Melanated Convo 100. Melanated Convo 100 on Instagram. Follow that page. You'll get all the updates about new shows, clips of the shows, everything regarding what I'm doing. You can also go to melanatedconvo.com. This is the website that houses the shows, as well as like the video portion and the audio. So you can get the video of the show and the audio of the show on melanatedconvo.com. So let's go. What I want to talk about today, right? In Black society, there's a lot of our parents, like on a daily, monthly, weekly basis, that deal with racism in their child's school, right? So some of you have probably had these type of incidents where your child is in school and they're playing with someone they would perceive as a friend even, and then something happened and racial epithets began to get thrown out, right? So this is why I want to do this show today, family. It's important that parents understand their role in how this type of treatment affects their child, because at times we can't control the name a kid calls your child. Even us as adults, we can't control when a racialized incident takes place, but we can control how we react to it. And in actuality, how we react to it will set the precedence for if this will even happen again to somebody else, possibly. You know what I mean? So Black parents need to be aware of how important certain things are when sending your kid out into this world. You feel me? So let's get into it real quick. What when dealing with racism in your kid's school, what should be the right choice of action? Like, what should you do if another kid calls your son a nigga? Another kid calls your daughter or your son a monkey? Like, when we get this type of treatment, what should be the reaction, right? Because this is important. Whether some of y'all know it or not, how you react to these things are important. So one of the first things I would say, as far as Black parents are concerned, if you are in a situation where your kid is being treated a certain way, being called some of these names, the first thing you would have to consider is in home, like when you're in your house, What are some of the things you express passion about? Because this is important. Like if your son and or daughter is at school and somebody called them a nigga, a monkey, anything, right? Their level of rage, their level of concern, how upset they are, how angry they are, typically will be gauged by how you guys feel about this type of thing in your house, right? So, look, the conversations you have inside of your house with your kids, with your spouse, this is important shit. This is what shapes the mindset of everybody around. So that's the first question you have to ask yourself. How involved are you with black causes? Like, how do you see the struggle of black people in America? This can be a telltale sign to how your child may respond when they receive some type of negative backlash based on them being black. And unfortunately, in America, this may happen. There's a good chance this is gonna happen. Whether you live in the inner city, whether you live in the suburbs, either it's gonna be somebody white or somebody black that uses your color, because we got a lot of self-hating Negroes based on their parents and the shit they had to go through, right? So we got a lot of self-hating Negroes that may treat your child a particular way because they're black. So the first thing you have to do to determine like what should happen, how you're perceiving your child should deal with it, the first thing you need to ask yourself is, how do you deal with shit like that? How do you deal with shit like that? Somebody called you a nigga, what would you do? If you see a racialized incident, what's your first response? Is it to make excuses? Is it to brush it under the table? Be careful. Be careful, family, because our kids are watching us at all times. Because you can even be a person, right, who goes through something where your kid experiences a negative interaction based on race in school. And you can fly off the deep end, as in it's something that upsets you. You don't want to see it happen again. That may work, but if in real life your kid has seen you deal with other things involving race, other things involving this type of issue, and you don't do nothing, you brush it under the table. You see? So you can talk about something when the incident happens, but your actions is what your kid is really looking at. So if you don't care about racism, if you don't care about the injustices of black people, it's a good chance your kids won't give a fuck either. You see what I'm saying? But let's just say you are a parent that may not have thought this type of thing was serious, because I see it all the time. With my platform, I do a lot of shows and news articles about this type of thing. This is a reality in our environment. And any parent who is dodging the race conversation at this point, or isn't or don't think it's serious enough to talk about the race conversation or get into detail about these things, you're doing your child a disservice. You see? Because what we all need to realize, if I'm not aware of how black people have been treated in detail, and this is like a new experience for me, for someone to treat me a particular way based on my race, this can be damaging for life. Like, this can change how they view black folks. This can change how they view black skin, because we have to keep it real. There's levels to it. So there's the regular racism, somebody call you a nigga, monkey, whatever. Then there's colorism that you get from your own people, where you darker skin, you lighter skin. Ain't that a bitch? Real quick. And this is some shit we got to deal with. If you too dark or too light, you get that work, right? From black kids, white kids. This is just how it works in our society. This is unfortunate, but all we can do as parents is equip our children with the information, the empowering information to help them out. So, like I said, if you're an adult that's black that don't care about liberation in black issues, it's a good chance your kid won't give a shit either. Right? Now, once you do care, once you have put it in your mind that this is something that either interests me or is just important for my kids to learn, then you get into the black history element. Because if you have a kid struggling with how they look, struggling with just racialized issues, of course you need to jump in. But another thing you need to do is go on like an empowerment mission, because you can tell them, hey, you're beautiful. Hey, I love you. You can speak truth to power, how you feel about our struggle and what you want to see happen, but information is powerful. So giving them information about history is one of the best ways to give them like a clear perspective of what they're looking at. So at this time, right? Because I've done interviews with a lot of brothers who write kids' books. There's a lot of kids' books aimed at teaching about white supremacy, teaching about racism in a real subtle way that kind of empowers the kid at the same time. This is something every Black parent should be doing in America, family. Your kid should have a strong sense of self, like where they come from, people who look like them that are not just successful, but they're beautiful, they're upwardly mobile, they're not like a rapper or an actor, because sometimes we create entertainment, we create like idolization out of these entertainers. Like we should be idolizing entertainers. That's some shit the media do to us. But as Black parents, all this shit need to be taken serious, because I hate to see because I see it all the time where Black parents go through things with their kid in school and it's almost shocking to them. Like they don't have anything in their tool belt to combat what just happened to their child, right? So again, we reading books about history, we making sure it's interesting to us, because again, you can try to teach your kid about the struggle of Black folks, but it's nothing like teaching when you're passionate. This is even, think about your teachers at school that was really passionate about the subject at hand, right? If they were really passionate about the subject, you felt it through their energy. You felt it through their words. This has to be the same thing about the struggle of Black folks. If it's neither here nor there to you regarding seeing somebody get killed by the police, seeing something happen that's possibly based on racism, how you react to it is everything. If you don't give a shit, your kid won't. If you blame the victim, you see somebody get killed by a cop, you blame the dude. You say, hey, he shouldn't have been running. Hey, he should act different. You're creating a coon, family. Your kid, more than likely, is going to be the same way. So when we look at the racialized incidents that may happen at your kid's school in that environment, you can't do nothing about if something like this is going to happen or not. All you can do is control how you react to it. See? So another thing, if your son or daughter comes home from school and they say, Timmy, shit, Samantha, one of these kids here called me a nigga, this can possibly set the precedence for how they view racialized incidents for the rest of their life. Let me give you an example. If your kid come home and say, Timmy called me a nigga, and you sweep it under the rug, they may forever, you hear me? They may forever sweep racialized incidents under the rug. It may forever be, that's not a big deal. That's why you have a person. In this, I know some parents do this inadvertently, but this is all part of the goddamn system. This is all a part of the Willie Lynch letter. This is all a part of like some self-hate shit, because we got a lot of people, let's keep it real. Your kids see you, they come home, say, Timmy called me a nigga. You say, he didn't mean it, go back to school. But let your cousin call up and say he ain't got that $5 he owe you. Come on now. Let your cousin call up and call you a bitch or call you a name or do something you don't like. You flash it on your family. You in the store and you don't get something you like, you calling the person behind the counter a bitch, you getting hypey with them, you turning it into something. So let's be honest, family, your kids have seen you go there, right? If you're around your kids a lot, they've seen you go there, and their translation, they're not looking at what the topic is or what the situation was. All they're correlating it to, my mom or dad thinks that's serious. My mom or dad cares about that. You see what I'm saying? That's the translation. They don't have the brain matter to kind of articulate what's going on, all the ins and outs. That's not what they're looking at. My mom cares about that. See? So your son or daughter seen you yell at your mama. Let's keep it real. She seen you yell at your mama. She seen you yell at the motherfucker calling about bills due. You yelled at your spouse, your husband, your boyfriend, whoever that is. But somebody called him a nigga and you made excuses. This can change the whole trajectory of the life. And it's sad. See? And it's sad because as people, like, I'm getting to the point where, look, all of us got free time. If you work a job that's 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, you still got like 130 hours available just to you, right? So you will see adults who are well versed in reality TV shows. You will see adults who are well versed in sports, well versed in media driven shit that may not have anything to do with your real life. And you ask yourself, damn, why is this person so knowledgeable about the 49ers? Why is this person so knowledgeable about the ins and outs of the reality TV business? Like, how'd they get that way? Easy. When they had free time, they gave a fuck and they listened, they corresponded, they gathered perspective because they were so interested in it. This is the same thing that can happen for our history, everything that goes on with us. So at this point, again, I understand some parents don't look at Black parents look at it this way, but this is the key to it, family. This is the key to it. Because look, if something happens at your kid's school where there's a racist action that you know for a fact by your understanding of it, by watching it, you know exactly what you're looking at. If you don't raise hell, hear me when I say this, family. If you don't raise hell, you're doing all of us a disservice. Why? Look, the civil rights movement, all of the liberation movements in the early 1900s involving Black folks, sacrifices had to be made. People had to put their neck on the line. People had to say, okay, this may not be hella big to somebody else, but I gotta speak on this because this may set a precedence going forward. You see what I'm saying? If you allow a school that your child attends to get away with racist behavior, one of the things you should be thinking about is, what about the next kid? What about my fucking community? What about all of us? See? You see why it pays to be on code? See why it pays to have like a group think mentality? Because it ain't about you. It ain't about you. We got a whole bunch of shit going on, and some of the biggest problems is Black folks be off code. Black folks don't find it necessary to sacrifice for the liberation of all of us. And if we think that way, some of the liberties we've been given, keep it in mind, we ain't completely free, but some of the liberties we've been given is based on Black folks who fought for it. You see? So if you're a fence sitter when it comes to Black issues, we got to address you. We got to address you. If you're grown and you don't have a perspective on Black issues, that's dangerous, because typically when you don't have a solid perspective on the liberation part, it's easy for them to get you to have a solid perspective on the coon part. You see, when you sit on the fence, these are the niggas who've ruined hundreds of slave revolts. The reason why we not free to a degree now when it comes to certain shit is the niggas who thought white ice was colder. The niggas who, like I always say, who was just scared. They didn't want to fight. They didn't want no problems. You see what I'm saying? So look, your kid going through something at school can be the wake-up call you need as a parent to say, you know what? I can be a successful business person. I can have a great job. I created a good home for my kids. But if we're looking at all of us, if we're looking at everything like Black folks as a unit, being on code with everything we're doing, caring about the struggle of Black people, it's necessary for all of us. We all will find ourselves in spaces where it's easier to coon. You're in a space where it's all white folks. You in a space where it's not a lot of Black folks. You in all these different spaces, and sometimes shit happens where you find it easier to say, okay, I'm gonna give them a pass. Okay, I'm not gonna do nothing. This is the worst shit you can do. And then we gotta realize we Black, family. So we got a lot of us who take that stance, but let somebody in your family do anything, right? You cutting them off. You calling them all kind of motherfuckers. You making sure you make an effort to remove yourself from them. You make it an effort to let them know how upset you are, the disdain you feel. Excuse me. It's mind-boggling to me that we got a lot of Black folks who do this to us, but they ain't got no smoke for nobody outside of our community. And this this school shit I'm talking about is a microcosm of that, because I can bet the same black parent who don't see nigga as a problem is probably the same black parent that don't see police brutality as a problem. Right? Right? So we in our house watching these incidents take place on the news, watching how the races of people conduct themselves with each other. You have to address this shit. Right? And another thing before I go, because this is something I just want to address, family, because I'm constantly seeing black parents get like a wake-up call based on something that happened with their child. And we shouldn't see this as an anomaly or something that was a mistake or something that we can gloss over when at times all of our liberation is at fault. Because look, we all see news stories in situations where black people bring things to light that happened to them, and that in just that in itself will spark a small revolution. That in itself will spark the conversation necessary to change whatever that incorrect action was, right? So black folks, you were born black in America. What can I tell you? What can I tell you? It's a fucking responsibility, man. I didn't give it to you. Your creator did. Maybe your God did. And okay, I'm a finish it off like this before I go, family. And another thing we need to realize, right? When it comes to black Americans getting a situation happen where it's based on racism or it's bigotry, it's white supremacy. Another reason why black folks experience these type of things and turn the other cheek or quick to forgive, they didn't mean it, nigga splain their way out of it, right? We got to keep it real. Another reason why this happens is because our religious choices. Look, if you a Christian, I got nothing against you if you're using your religion to make yourself a better person and or helping our community, creating clarity so you can fight for us and your family. Clear mind, get you off drugs, get your mind right. Whatever your situation is, if you're using religion to become a better person and it's working in the dark, because we know niggas be screaming shit in the light and then in dark go back to doing whatever. So if it's working in the dark, I'm rocking with you. But I got to keep it real with y'all. Like, just knowing history, I got to keep it real with y'all. It's a lot of black folks who don't get mad at white folks because he's Jesus to them. I'm sorry. There's a lot of black folks who aren't quick to get mad at white people because they're transferring that image they got of Jesus into the white man or woman they looking at. See? So we need to be cognizant of everything we're putting in to ourselves. Like there's been Christian, Marcus Garvey was a Christian. Like Marcus Garvey was a religious guy. There's been other revolutionary figures in our black struggle who have aligned themselves with religion. So I'm not knocking religion completely, but a lot of the premise behind religion as it relates to how it was introduced to black people was on some nefarious shit, right? It wasn't with good intention. So yeah, you can take something that started out horrible and turn it into something productive and useful for yourself. Cool. But the history of nothing should be forgotten. If so, it's going to be repeated, right? So the docile spirit that we see in a lot of black folks was created by the forgiveness nature of the Bible. Pick the version, right? So we need to be honest about this. Like what this country has done to us is astonishing, and it's still taking place to today. And it shows itself in different forms, because you would think, right, a people that was enslaved, that's walking around with last names like Anderson, Johnson, Williams, Jones, pick the fucking last name. None of it's African, none of it's Aboriginal, right? Dealing with great grandparents who was enslaved, great grandparents who was sharecroppers, all this tumultuous shit we had to go through. It I'm baffled sometimes why Black adults don't see the benefit of learning about this shit so they can prevent some of the pitfalls, so they can prevent some of the whitewashing, so they can prevent some of the assimilation. Some of you niggas assimilate without even knowing. You don't even know you assimilated. Have you ever seen a Black person treat a Black man like shit but get happy when white men come around? Talk to me. Have you seen it? Have you seen a Black person treat their brother, sister, mother, cousin, friend, associate like shit, but let the white insurance man walk up with a suit on? That's Jesus, family. I'm sorry. But Christians tell me all the time, no, Jesus was Black. Well, yeah, I dare you to put a picture of a Black Jesus in your house. Because niggas talk that shit. Some do. Like, not like my brother Zoe Williams say, not some, but no. Like, a lot of Black folks are religious and are approaching it in a particular way. But unfortunately, too many of us got Jesus complex, got white Jesus complex, where white people get treated and they do it sometimes without even knowing. See? So this could be you, family, but that's cool, right? That's why we're here today. This is the this is a Negro coon intervention, right? That can be your situation. You may not have known it. I'm bringing up the situation with the kid because sometimes all of us need things to happen to change our perspective, things to happen to kind of shape how we're going to think about things moving forward, right? And because I've been in similar situations. My youngest son goes to a pretty much all white school. It's other races of people, but predominantly white, right? And he has had to deal with racialized incidents. And as parents, they're watching how you deal with the interaction. Oh, Shireen, so my son was in class and a white teacher told him, a white substitute teacher, told he walked in class with his hood on. Black kid with his hood on, chain around his neck. You know what I mean? So there's already some built-in stereotypes when it comes to shit like that. So he walks into class with a hood on. She says, hey, take your hood off. You're not in the hood. You heard me. Take your hood off because you're not in the hood. See? They ain't even nigga. They ain't even nigga, monkey. That's none of that. But the implication was good enough for me. So I went to the school. I did what I had to do. Long story short, the teacher's no longer there. Starting the next day. So my son, who watched the whole thing, well, I went to the school. I talked to the, I gave the principal like my list of demands. But I was nice. I was respectful. I was professional. Like all these things have to be in place, right? But I gave him my list of my short list of demands, and I was ready to jump into action. See, but they did the right thing. And what happened is my son watched the whole interaction. Without even knowing it, I empowered my son. He says, hey, he said, yeah, that shit happened to me, and my dad did this. What do you think would have happened if I would have told him she didn't mean it, son? She wasn't talking about your hood. I mean, that's like, you know, that's kind of how things go. And what if I would have took that approach? See, because we complain about politics. We complain about coons. We complain about the lack of unity. All this shit starts as a child. All these behaviors that we see from Black folks start when they're children, family. So what we can do to help, right? What we can do to help, like I always say, I know a lot of Black folks who don't believe in marching, don't believe in expressing their discomfort with white society outward. So they ain't gonna wear a shirt, they ain't gonna march, they ain't gonna put their fists up, they're not gonna do none of that. Cool. The best way you can help us in our fight against white supremacy is raise your goddamn child to be aware of who they are. Knowledge yourself with your kid. Let's say you a coon, right? Let's say you don't even give a shit. Well, you can still help us. Make sure your child cares, right? Make sure you empower your child to have a voice, to know when to speak up, right? Because sometimes, even when we look at Black society, sometimes everything about slavery, everything about our history, that shit seeps into everything we do at times, and we won't even know it. I know some parents, and I've been a victim of this, where you have your kid in a particular place, or you're at a store, you're in front of people. It's like, kid, shut up. Don't talk. Don't express nothing. I'm going to talk for you. Talk this way. You're trying to control some of the um faculties of how your kid is acting, and a lot of parents don't know. A lot of that shit comes from slavery, family. Do you know when a Black mother back in the 1800s, right? Back in the 1800s, late 1800s, if a Black mother knew at that point that the best type of slaves are younger people, right? So the master, whoever he is, there's a good chance if he sees my son and my son is strong, my son is brolic, my son is confident, gets work done quickly. That's a problem. Why? Because if Massa see this boy performing this well, he gonna come get him. He gonna come get him. Now, you imagine that. Somebody coming to take your fucking child for working purposes, right? So Black women trying to be smart, trying to be as forward thinking as possible, they degraded their child. No, you don't want my son. Massa, you don't want my son. He's shiftless. He's stupid. He can't see out of his right eye. He ain't nothing down here. They controlled the environment. They seen something was gonna possibly happen, and they controlled the environment by putting a muzzle on their child inadvertently, or you see what I'm saying? So slavery, the ramification is a little more harsh, but it's the same ideology. Let me control this child, because if I don't, Massa will. I.e., today, what happens if you raise a child in the inner city, single woman, two parents, but we know a lot of times it's a single woman, and you don't give your kid discipline? Single mom in the hood, you don't provide discipline, you don't provide structure, you don't provide a father, male role models, however you want to see it. What ends up happening? Inner city, no resources. What ends up happening? Well, Massa, i.e., the prison system, i.e., the police departments around the country, the goddamn educational system, where a lot of youth in our public school systems are treated like criminals. They're like damn near preparing them for jail cells. So it's the same thing, family. If you don't prepare your kid right, you're creating food for the system. You're creating a stereotype for the system. So the long and short of it is, if your kid goes to school and experiences a racialized incident, and afterwards they are confused, baffled, you can see it affected their self-esteem, how they feel about themselves. They don't understand what happened. Now, of course, this is 3-4-year-old, maybe, but if we talking 7 and up, damn near 6 and up, you're partially to blame for this, family. Because if your kid is unsure or don't know why an Asian kid, a white kid, a Mexican kid call them a racial epithet, that's based on your lack of teaching. Because sometimes people think our racist experience in this country is relegated to white folks. Unfortunately not, family. Everybody comes here. You know, all the immigrant groups that we created a lane for them to come here, right? This is the irony of a lot of these situations. Asians, some Mexicans, Arabs, some European Jews who come here, white folks, they come here and they create the same hostile environment towards black skin that white folks do, not knowing that the fact that they're able to come to this country is based on the civil rights struggle. No other, look, real shit. No other race of people immigrant or whoever you want to say has fought in the face of white supremacy. When they get treated with racism, they may just conjure up amongst themselves and do something with themselves, like focus on them, and that could be a benefit to a degree. But none of them fight white supremacy. None of them get treated with racist behavior and decide to march and get the news involved, and that's some black shit damn near. So we've been fighting in this country since we got here, and the irony is we get these foreigners who come here and take on the same ideology as the white supremacists. See? So you may be off put when your kid comes home and says, I was called a nigga, mom, but that's not the hurtful part. Shit. The most hurtful part is it was Timmy, my best fucking friend. See? So it makes you think when you see a adolescent, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, Mexican, white, Asian, whatever, calls a black kid a monkey, nigga, any of this, a part of me says we're fucked because they learned that somewhere. Just how I was just talking about the importance of the black household, what we should do, what we shouldn't do. Same shit for other households. If you have a young white kid who has racist views about other groups of people, it's 100% sure that he got this shit from his house. Because see, a lot of times, all parents of all races, we disvalue the rhetoric we spew at home. That's where kids learn everything, just so you know. Whatever you're bigging up in your house, whatever you're congratulating, whatever you're speaking to with a positive affirmation, whatever you're happy about, whatever you're smiling about while you're talking, your kids are picking that up. Right? And we know with how racism works in America, a lot of white folks, they tell black jokes, they tell all this shit. They have a racist undertone to their conversations at times, and kids are watching. So these same kids go to your son's school or your daughter's school and get to calling them a monkey or a black monkey or all this shit, and your kid comes home baffled. Yes, you're right, Shireen. Books and American history taught in school can attribute to that also. Like teaching me that the kid sitting next to me was once my slave. That can, come on now. That can do something. If I don't mention the fact that he also created math and science and every fucking thing that we use. See? So you could balance it out by just telling the whole truth. But you're right, Shireen. It's the parents, and it's also, that's real shit. It's also, I feel like I got a leg up. Like something just feel beneficial to me. You know what I mean? Because you got to realize this is a complete white world, damn near. Think about it. You always got to try to flip it to a degree. Think about it. If all the presidents were black, think about our psyche if we lived in a country where all of the presidents were black except for a couple. All of the politicians were white except for a handful. So I think without even saying anything, you empower a people to make them feel like they're a part of everything. Like being treated like an outsider is a fucked up feeling. And I think some races just have the benefit, because we all go through shit, but they just have the benefit of not being treated like a complete outsider, not being disenfranchised for how you look. Like being black in America, if you're embracing it, you go through some shit where it's like, damn, I'm experiencing all these hurdles, these weird interactions, these consequences for different shit I'm embarking on, all because of how I look. That can be draining. That can be depressing even. I was reading an article the other day about how like racism, certain forms of racism can fucking kill you. Real shit. If you're being disenfranchised, if you're being treated a particular way because of how you look, every person deals with stress a different way. So we all know black people, high blood pressure. We die based on certain diseases quicker than anybody else. A piece of that is the food, the grease, the slave adopted fucking diet that we have, right? Another part of that is being in an environment where you get treated a certain way. See, some people internalize that And in return, that affects their body negatively. This is real shit, family. So for all my black folks out there who be on some, it's not racism, it's classism. Ignore it. You're putting too much attention towards it. Look, if a doctor told you you had cancer, right? 1 through 4, 5 stages, it don't matter the stage. A doctor told you you had cancer. The first thing you're going to want to do, them as well, what's the root of this? Let's get to the root and fix it from the root. If you had cancer and the doctor gave you fucking ibuprofen, you may feel good today. If you're in pain because of cancer and leukemia and all these diseases that attack your body, if you took ibuprofen or aspirin or drunk some water, like this is a small ass band-aid on a gigantic problem. See? So it's our responsibility as parents. This is one of the reasons why I do what I do. This is one of the reasons why I've always spoke so highly of history. Learning shit, perspective and knowledge changes your mindset. And a lot of us need like a changing of our mindset, because we don't change our mindset. Then our kid come home and say, I was called a nigga, and you sweep it under the rug and feed them dinner. You just said a whole bunch of shit without saying nothing. You see what I'm saying? So racism and the knowledge behind it is an adult thing that we all need to empower ourselves to learn about, to find it interesting, because that's another thing. Like I said, I know people who engulf themselves in all kind of shit, sports, different types of entertainment, a whole bunch of shit that'll never actually help you in your life, but you know about it. You're interested in it. You can articulate what's going on with it. That speaks volumes, because you could do the same shit about your history. You could do the same shit about black folks. It's just reading. The internet creates like a vast amount of important information that all of us can access. So it's the same shit. So if your kid is going through something, going through a racialized incident at school, how they react to it is based on your information you've given them or lack thereof. You feel me? So this has been your brother Harrison, man. Make sure you subscribe to the Melanated Convo on YouTube. What's going on? So tomorrow on my platform, the Melanated Convo. My brother Chris Lodgson will be here to talk about reparations, talk about the reparations task force that's been created here in California. So we're gonna have a good conversation about that check that they owe me. You feel me? Thursday, I'm gonna have my sister Sonia on the show. We're gonna try a new thing. I'm probably gonna have her on weekly, or attempt to, just to give her. She mentioned it to me, so we're gonna have a guest on the show weekly so we can talk about some things. I'm gonna try that out. So again, man, thank y'all for rocking with me. I was just on my sister's shift. I was just on my sister Felicia K's TV show, the First Lady Point of View on Sacramento Access Channel. Had a really good experience. That was an accomplishment for me. I appreciate the sister having me on. I appreciate these relationships that I've been able to foster based on what I do. That's something that I didn't anticipate. Like, as many people that I talk to and interview and interact with, and all the good energy I come across, a piece of me wasn't expecting a long relationship with some of these people, but it's been so beneficial. Part of everything I want to do business-wise with what I'm doing, just the relationships that I've been able to cultivate are priceless. So shout out to that sister Felicia K for having me on the show. It's a good show. The setup is good. The energy of everybody was in there was good. Just everything about the vibe was positive. So if you haven't seen the show yet, check my Instagram, Melanated Convo 100. I'm gonna be posting information about the next time it airs. It'll be airing 3 more times in October, the 13th, 14th, and 15th. I'm gonna be posting information about how you can view it based on the type of television setup that you have. But this is your brother Harrison, man. Melanated Convo. Let's have conversations, black folks. I talk to black folks all the time who are 30, 40 something, 50 something, just learning about particular pieces of our information. This is the travesty, family. Like, find black folks interesting. Find your history interesting. Like, invest in learning about your people, not just your personal family, which is important, but your people. You feel me? So this is your brother Harrison, man. Melanated Convo podcast. I'm out.